Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI Friday Tier Summer Season Championship race. We're here in Brazil for the final round 6 of 6. And we've got a few brand new drivers on the grid to join us today. We're a few minutes into quali and I can confirm to you right now it's going to be a dry qualifying session, but the end of the race could see some rain. We're not entirely sure how much and if it will come about or not, but that's what we're looking at today. Now, we've got Eager Pro currently setting the fastest lap time. Nifo is the only car on track other than Jericho Willis, who's just on an outlap right now. We have had Singy do an outlap and then go straight back into the pit lane. I'm not entirely sure what their plan is of that one, but they're going to try and go again. Devon Young serving a qualifying ban today. They can do an outlap and an immediate in-lap, but they won't be setting a lap time, so they'll have to start at the back of the pack. Now, we will try and sort a few things in the meantime, because there are a few drivers with a few problems, and we have Jericho Willis out. We do know that sometimes around this circuit it is beneficial to do 2 outlaps, so you can get those tyre temps really in the window. Also, it quite possibly will be a 2-stop strategy, which is going to be very interesting if that is the case. I do apologise for that. Hopefully we're going to be all good. We've got Heischler and I think Tom Buckley, unfortunately, off the grid right now. Hopefully they can get back in, but right now it's a bit tricky. We've had Jericho Willis go for a 7.6 and Eager Pro is on an outlap ready to try and get back in place for that one if they can. We'll see how it goes. And we have got the stats on the screen. And we'll make sure we're good to go. And then hopefully we don't need to look at anything else other than the live stream. Welcome. We're just in qualifying right now, preparing for the race that could see some rain towards the end. And we're just setting everything up so we are good to go and there are no problems. And that is definitely going into the pit lane. That will be their session done for qualifying here. It's Eager Pro trying to defend their pole position right now. Eager Pro doesn't improve, sorry. They're actually going for that double lap to try and get their tyres warmed up. I believe at least. They might have forgotten to turn the battery on, I have a feeling, on the start-finish straight because they hadn't really used much at all. But hopefully Buckley has got a fix for their wheel situation. Hopefully Heischler can join us back soon. Eager Pro invalidates, unfortunately, so that is their run done. And they will have to wait and see what they can do a little bit later on. We've got Zingy out on track right now, going through the first few corners on the brand new wheel, but getting their first win last weekend in Australia. First weekend racing, and they took victory. Actually, first race on the wheel as well. This is their second one in LSI as they missed the Saturday tip. No DRS along here, just using a little bit of battery to get into the corners and then trying to manage the way through the rest of the circuit as you lock up very easily around Sao Paulo. And that's actually the McLaren off the track trying to get out the way. And they do so. Maybe a little bit distracting, but they do manage to get there in the end. Cutting over that inside curve really heavily there for the Scotsman. Final corner, major corner coming up before you basically go flat out all the way up to the line. Really hard on the inside curve as well. DRS will be available shortly as they touch the grass. Pull it to the left-hand side to minimise track distance. What's it going to be for Zingy as they cross the line? And it's going to be a P4 for them, just behind Sulkin in the end, an 8.0. And then the top three currently in the 7-second margin of lap times. We're yet to see Heischler, of course, set their lap time, but so far, everybody that is allowed to set lap times have set a lap time. We've got Alex Cooper and Nifayan on out laps at the moment. We've got Jericho Willis, actually. It says that they're on a lap, so we'll see if they can try and defend their pole position, as they have been brilliant pace-wise recently, and they are really working very well. And that is it. Provisional pole position improved. A 5, 7, 8 there for Jericho Willis. Liking it. Still 5 minutes on the clock. Track evolution is possible, and especially with a short track distance as well. Now, what we can make from the Brazilian Grand Prix in the past, Igapro has enjoyed this circuit many, many times, and sometimes just narrowly missing out on victories. What can they do today? They've had good pace in previous games. Will they have good pace today? 4 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock. Still a few drives out. Heischler's in the lobby, that's good to see, and Tom Buckley's got force feedback back. So hopefully they have no more problems. Coming into the middle sector now. Going up the hill. Down to third. And trying to get the traction on, as it just seems to be very low in this version of the circuit in the 25 game. Once again down to third, no lower. You can risk going down further. You can also risk scrubbing off speed if you do go too low on the gears, but it's whether you want that extra rotation or not. Purple middle sector there for Igapro, and that could well be the fastest middle sector. Nifayan since improved ahead of Igapro, but Igapro now tries to challenge for pole position. Is it going to be enough as they cross the line? And it is going to be a 4.68, over a tenth ahead of Jericho Willis. And could that be enough? We've still got time on the clock. We've got a few drivers in the pit lane waiting to give their final run. We've got Sulkin on an outlap already. We've got Heischler, who's having a very limited run plan here in the Friday to Brazil Grand Prix because of their issues. It's the way it goes sometimes. They also say that they don't have too much practice, but we can never count them out with the pace that they have in the car. And they come into the final sector round about now. We'll get to see what they're doing sector-wise, but relative to a previous pace, we don't really know. Locking up quite a bit, so experiencing that now a little bit too late. Following the left lane, DRS not opened as they go straight back into the pit lane, and they're going to opt, I think, for track evolution instead. We have got, of course, Sol Borden into P7 at the moment, but we're going to watch on board with Sulkin, who is on a lap right now. And is going to be looking, actually not on a lap right now, they're just currently warming up their tyres. So will we see Borden go for a lap here? Have they turned their battery on? They've got the DRS and they're not warming up on the straight, so I believe they are going for a lap here in the Ferrari ahead of their teammate by a little bit right now, but looking to try and get some more lap time out of the car. DRS will be available as they go through turn 3 to turn 4. Heavy braking will be an overtaking opportunity, but it's very open on the exit of the corner, and you can get pretty feisty if you're racing another car without too much consequence. So we've got to look out for that in the race, of course. Some traffic up ahead, hopefully that they can find their way out of the way of the Ferrari car as they really try and use the wheel flicking from the 24 game. It's going to wear down the tyres a lot. You can't afford to do it in the race, of course, but in the qualifying session, if you play it right, you might be right. Those front tyres, though, right now are going to be absolutely screaming for grip. And then into the final corner, DRS will be available. ERS is going to be spammed all the way up to the line, and this is going to be the last lap from Borden there across the line. What's it going to be? And it's going to be an improvement by just under 2 tenths in the end, an 8.2, and that is their run done. That's qualifying finished for Borden. Then we're going to see Sulkin, who will come across the line as they've done their 2 laps. It's DRS, and across the line it's going to be, unfortunately not an improvement in the end, and that will probably be it for Sulkin. I don't think they're going to find a way to come out of that one and go again. We're not going to see many improvements from that. We will see Jericho Willis though have a go, and I reckon we actually watch on board. Heisler has come up pretty late. They're doing 1 run, so they're not doing a double outlap. This is what most cars are doing, the double outlaps. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But Jericho Willis knows that they've got their tyres up to temperature. They're ready to go racing. DRS will be available as they're really riding that inside curb. You can see them getting the rotation, minimizing track distance into turn 4, braking as late as they possibly can afford to, and then onto that throttle, allowing the car to drift to the outside line as well through the following corners, and then up the hill, not going up a gear, then scrolling down to 6th gear to try and scrub off some speed so you don't have to touch the brakes into the S section, or effectively the technical section, up the hill once again, and then down the gears one final time. Then you go back down the hill before going back up the hill again, once again pulling it to the left hand side if you can, trying to stay away from the grass on the outside but maximize the track distance. It's optional whether you use that inside curb or not, depending on your setup. DRS and ERS being spammed all the way up to the line now, pulling it to the left hand side to minimize that distance. What's it going to be for Jericho Willis as they compete for pole position? They're not going to improve. Zingy to P2. Oh, Niffo has taken it away. It's Igabro who's invalidated, but it's not going to make a difference. We've got Buckley to cross the line. That's going to be it for qualifying. We've seen Heisler go to P5 on the 1 lap. Absolutely awesome stuff there. Sulkin didn't manage to get a lap done in the end. P6 for them is Cooper, but that is Igapro on pole position for the Brazilian Grand Prix. They've always gone well around this circuit. Niffo right behind them. The master of race starts is going to be following them behind. That's going to be absolutely insane. We'll scroll through the race director first, just in case. And we've got Igapro on pole position. We've got Niffo in P2 and Zingy in P3. What a qualifying that is right there. That is a pretty nice gap between the top 3 and pretty much the top 5 as well. Sulkin, I think, really missed out on that final run and could have had a better one, but we'll see in a bit for the race. It's going to be good. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? The inside line for Nifo, but Igapro gets away very well. Oh, it's going to be Jericho Willis 3 wide with Zingy behind. Zingy swoops around the outside, then Nifo, and then it's Jericho. But oh no, Zingy's down the order. I was looking at the order, I didn't even see what happened. I do not believe it. They've got no damage. Everybody else is clean through, but it's Igapro ahead by 1 second, as it's now side by side with Jericho Willis as they go pushy and shovey through turn 4. Absolutely incredible. Having to back off though, and that's Heischler now seeing their teammate get in front. That is a brilliant start there for Igapro, slightly helped by the battling that happened just behind, but that was Zingy, I think, maybe getting a tap possibly, unless they just went a little bit too hard over the curb. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it would be very unlikely for that, so I think maybe a tap that sent them round with a bit of wheel lock, easily done, and we'll have to look at that one a little bit later on. But Zingy now catches back up to the pack immediately because of the tight bunching that we've got on the hard tyre. We've got a few medium tyres. We've got Igapro and Jericho Willis on the medium, a dream start for Igapro on that medium tyre. It's the hard tyres that usually the more standard strategy. We've got the Scotsman sitting behind the Ferrari right now, but not able to make a move. We are going to see some moves a little bit further into the grid, but here it is. Zingy to the outside line is going to get there and make the move, and now they make that progress. Now we see, of course, Jericho Willis and Heischler up in front of the Racing Bull. The McLarens have made some progress. Of course, well, I say that, it was actually Heischler who just made that progress on the hard tyre, so Nefayan and Heischler switching positions. Devon Young, I have to say, from P10 to P5, absolutely incredible start from this guy, who didn't really get any running in qualifying, and has to try and figure out what to do for the race later on, where we expect some rain to kick in. That's going to be absolutely brutal. But Devon Young in a good position still for this race. It's Zingy who's having to make a lot of progress. It's Igapro who is controlling this race, but they're not having it easy right now because they've got Jericho Willis right behind. Jericho has to push. They have to try and find DRS, but it's not quite so simple. It's Heischler who's putting the pressure on the hard tyre. The fellow medium tyre runner isn't able to do anything. Oh no, and Nifo's made a mistake. Oh, I think they got a bit distracted from the movement of the McLaren just ahead of them and ended up going a little bit all over the place. They do stay within DRS range just about. That is Buckley unfortunately retiring from the race. I think that's due to force feedback issues. It's Cooper down the order, side by side with the Ferrari, getting ahead once more and just about staying in front. But it's Zingy who makes another position as these guys do so. Now, 1.1 seconds is still the gap, and it's Jericho Willis who stays ahead of his teammate. Okay, so it's Tom Buckley who had their brake dragging, so they've took the decision to retire from the race. That's really unfortunate, but as this race progresses, we do see Igapro ahead, but now running out of gas to keep Jericho Willis behind. As Jericho, not with DRS, but with a lot of performance, and it's actually Heischler who's decided to go for the move, and that is an incredibly strange place to go for the move when your teammate's just about to get DRS. Now Heischler, I think fortunately he's got DRS. That was very, very lucky. They just lost some time to Igapro, but luckily it was enough to be stuck to the back of that car and still hold on to it. That could have gone horribly wrong, but it would have been not a big deal for Heischler because he's on that hard tyre, which we expect to get a lot quicker very, very soon. Now, Igapro has made that start. They've had no troubles to begin with, and they've been able to control the pace. They may have been pushing, so they may have been using their tyres a bit. We're expecting this to be a two-stop race. So right now, Igor can continue to control the pace, but it's Heischler who is very likely to try and make this move very soon, although they did just lock the rears. It's going to be Nevo locking the rears and unfortunately spinning on the curb, and they go down the order, and that's going to be more progress for the Scotsman, Salkin, and for everyone as they drop all the way to the back. Those tyres are very, very deadly right now. That is Igapro losing the position as Heischler shows his way through into the lead of the Grand Prix. It's Jericho Willis sitting behind from competing earlier on. Now they're going to try and push ahead of Igor. Igor's being forced to attack as they had a little bit of a kind of situation going on there, did the McLaren. I think Heisler was trying to push to try and allow his teammate to go for a move, but he had to be a little bit wary that Igor didn't try and go for anything. That was a close call, but pretty mediated quite well in the end. It's Devon Young who has been left in a tricky situation because of that spin from Nifayan. They now have no DRS, and that means that they've got a little bit of work to do. Luckily for them, there are medium tyre runners just in front of them, so they are able to outpace them even in these early stages of the race. DRS, I think, will be on the rear wing of that car, and we'll just wait as we go through the curve. There's the line, and it's open. Luckily for them, they're able to hold on. DRS still available also for Igapro. Actually, Devon Young's going to lose it here as they go into the first corner. They're locking up the front, so you can see them send it super hard into the corner. They might have just held on. Did they do so with the DRS? And they did. That's impressive stuff. It's Solkin and Zingy who are looking to slipstream train. I say that. Solkin's pushing. Zingy still wants to make the move, but he doesn't allow him to. He's going to send it on the brakes. They're going to go side by side, and he does get ahead in the end. But that wasn't so easy. 3.2 seconds away from the cars ahead. They've got a lot of work to do. Devon Young's still on the limit right now. Because Igapro got the DRS off of Heisler, they were able to pull themselves along, minimise their tyre wear disadvantage, but it also meant that it was harder for Devon Young to keep up. Unfortunately, that is going to be Borden off the circuit and retiring. We'll try and get some intel on that, but unfortunately we don't really know what happened there. They've driven off at the turn 6 corner, and that's their race done. Devon Young just holds on to DRS range. It's Igapro who doesn't get it this time, and that's an easy pass there for Jericho Willis. In turn, it will allow Devon Young to catch up nicely and be in this train. It is Heisler who starts to break away and make progress in this race. 3.9 seconds now to Zingy and the train ahead, as it's just so difficult in a train situation. It's Zingy trying to keep Solkin behind, trying to communicate, we can work together if you stay behind. I don't want you to overtake me. Let's use my hard tyre pace to make it work. And for now, it seems to be working. Saving the battery to try and force some usage on the straight so they can keep themselves safe from the car behind, but also push to try and catch the cars ahead. 3.9 seconds, it's going to be tough. That being said, remember, we're looking at a possible two-stop. A two-stop would mean strategy galore, and you have two opportunities to go for undercuts and overcuts. These tyres are brutal, and you can see from Selkin, who's just lost the DRS, is struggling a lot with this medium tyre. That's actually a mistake, though, it looks like, from Heisler. Frustrated, wiggling the wheel. It's going to be Jericho Willis who doesn't opt to make the move, actually. I think it wasn't frustration, it was a communication to say, you know what, keep behind me, because although I've made a mistake and although you've caught up to me, I have now got everything back together, so I should stay ahead. Devon Young almost lost DRS range, but they just about kept it and stay back within, and Zingy is now catching up as this all happened. A big cluster that just kind of bundled up together. And now the race is definitely back on for Devon Young from starting last, now P4 in the lead train of this race. Of course, we had the issue from Nifo, we've had the two issues from the Ferraris, we've had Zingy spinning, so pretty frustrating for a few drivers so far, but a brilliant start for Heisler, who has had a pretty tough time in qualifying, and Devon Young, who had their qualifying ban. Different strategies, though, are going to mean different things for later in the race, and we just don't know how this is going to play out. We don't know who's going to have a more dry setup compared to a wet setup, and that's going to be crucial because the wet setups might not be that useful for a long time, but they might be incredibly useful for when they are needed. That's Devon Young making the move, and Igapro not going to fight it too hard because of the tyre difference at this stage of the race. And actually, he stayed close behind another car ahead, in the F1 game series, you do end up saving tyre wear, which is strange because that shouldn't necessarily be the case. There is a reason to it, but it's not really realistic. Doesn't matter, we're not going to look into that now. Hard tyres for Heischler, still leading the way. Nobody's made any pit stops right now. Of course, nobody's made any pit stops. Lap 9 out of 36, though. I think we're going to come to a range where the mediums are going to want to do something. And I do wonder what Jericho's going to do here. Are they going to pit and try and split Devon and Heisch and allow Heisch to break away with the DRS advantage? Or are they going to try and stay behind? Because they're going to have to defend from Devon. Devon's not going to want to stay behind that medium tyre runner. They have to try and be on the attack. They didn't really get a good enough exit. That gives Jericho Willis the confidence to stay out. But I think we might see Jericho. Would he slow down and try and have not a gap so he loses DRS, but a gap that if he does pit, then it means that there's a big gap between Heischler and Devon and prevents Devon from getting DRS on his teammate? I don't know. That's very complicated. Maybe they're not thinking that far into it and just looking to try and race their own race, as it seems that the McLarens have done. They're still leading the team's championship despite that. They've had a brilliant season. And they're continuing to finish that one off with a pretty good run. That was Jericho Willis going very tight over the track limits and definitely, I should say, getting themselves a warning in the end. Nifayan catches up to Alex Cooper, makes progress, catches up now to Salkin and is looking to try and make a move. We want to have a quick look to see. We're not going to get a move from Nifo, but they are a lot quicker with that car. So it's a tricky one there, but we're going to see Devon Young, who's putting pressure on Jericho Willis. Will Jericho Willis take the opportunity to go into the pit lane? They do pull to the left. They will go into the pit lane. It's Devon Young who gets slung shot. Egapro follows along as well. It's Egapro who gets a 10-second time penalty. The pole sitter has been caught out. I do not believe it. I do not believe it. It's going to be, Salkin who stays out and fighting Nifayan. And they're trying everything they can. That's going to be a bit of contact. Hopefully no damage on the racing bull. But it's going to be much superior tyre wear against straight line speed. And they're going to be very competitive, but you're never going to outbrake the fresh hard tyre. It's always going to be tricky, and that is job done from Nifo. That's the hard tyres now leading the way. Salkin and Cooper, the only drivers to not do anything. That was Salkin trying to go for a move, interestingly. I'm not entirely sure what the process was behind that, but it just helps Cooper out to get even closer. Now, I'm very confused because Egapro was behind Jericho Willis. Egapro sped into the pit lane first. I think they must have accidentally overtaken or made a mistake and just gone straight past Jericho Willis. Jericho's broken, and then maybe Igor reacted and they've gained the position from it somehow. I don't know. But because we're looking at probably a two-stop this race, they're not really going to have anything to say about it. They're not going to have a chance to really dispute that penalty, unfortunately. DRS available for Jericho and they're looking to go for the move. They're on the double medium strategy here, which is interesting. Whereas Egapro's got the option to go for a double medium or a double hard. We don't quite know just yet. But they're looking to go possibly on the medium when their car is lighter. Jericho's looking for the longer final stint. I don't know if they're looking for that or if they're looking to try and do 24 laps, 22 laps on two medium sets of tyres and then get some wet tyres on. That's a strategy, of course. Not necessarily the safest strategy, but it is definitely a strategy. They're now going to try and break away from Egapro, but that's going to be easier said than done. Heischler and Devon Young, P1 and P2 in DRS of each other. It's Zingy 5.2 seconds away. Then Nivbo's made some amazing progress back to P4. They're 6 seconds away from Zingy. And then it's Salkin and Alex Cooper, who are fairly close to one another. Not in DRS, but they are in good attacking range of each other. It's Egapro who holds on to DRS. That's 3 seconds from Devon Young. And that's our second time penalty, our first track limit penalty right there. Cooper stays out. That's an interesting one. I didn't expect that. Cooper stays out as Salkin into the pit lane. And Down to P8 they go, but of course they will regain some ground going for this undercut. They were fighting with Zingy earlier on, but that just shows how dead those tyres are. Looking to go longer. Maybe Sulkin's trying to see if they can take these hards comfortably all the way to the wet conditions and just put quali laps in at this point. I don't know. We don't know. We won't know because there's such a mix on the grid. Eager Pro is definitely looking for that, especially with their time penalty range. And Jericho Willis, I think, is looking to do this double stop. It's going to be them catching up to Cooper already. So that's just showing how brutal these tyres are. It's effectively like driving on the wet tyre. And it's Eager Pro trying to take an opportunity at making a move on Jericho, and they're gonna have a go. Oh, there's a big spin there from the Williams, and Eager Pro just backs off. I do not believe it. Those tyres are completely done. Oh, they don't have a puncture, but they just can't keep it in a straight line. It's going to be Eager Pro who's going to look to swoop around the outside in a turn of events. Absolutely incredible. Jericho Willis not going to be happy, will be looking to swoop back through, but we do know that medium tyre will die off at some point soon. That's Cooper not able to brake sufficiently for the pit lane entry and getting themselves a time penalty. The second 10 seconds that we've had this weekend. Jericho Willis is going for that move. The inside line is theirs, but they've moved across way too early and made contact with the front wing of Eager Pro. Looks visually okay, but hopefully Eager Pro's not got any damage. They're not going to be happy, and that's that done. It's unfortunately the intermediate tyres for Cooper, as they've gone a little bit too early on this tyre. That's pretty frustrating for them. Not ideal. Unfortunately, they're going to have to make another pit stop and probably end up on the wet tyres anyway later on. It's Heischler leading the way as Devon Young follows them closely. It is a very tricky track for track limits, so we do have to keep an eye out. Devon Young is not completely in the mud right now, as we see Cooper get a time penalty. But obviously, Devon Young does have the more difficult situation. Is that wet conditions? There's the rain. It's coming. I doubted Cooper, and I was wrong. Jericho Willis has got an interesting strategy with that medium tyre. How is this tyre situation going to be? Are we going to get wet conditions very quickly, or is it going to be light? Because I heard that the the track temperatures aren't going down that significantly when the weather is expected to come around. So that could mean that we could see a slick tyre still be faster for a long time. That intermediate tyre is going to be what we're looking at, and I want to look at the fastest lap right here. 12.1 versus a 10.7, so it's not that slow. This intermediate is not that slow. Heischler, will they call it to the pit lane? I think they might try it. They might risk it, but they could go another lap or two. They are going to stay out a lap or two. I'm surprised that Devon Young didn't try and risk something, because they've got a gap behind. They've got a time penalty as well, but they do stay out with Heischler. Will they look for DRS? DRS not disabled right now. That's usually from the six-time champion Zingy, his call to go into the pit lane or not. And we still have DRS available, so they're not going into the pit lane, that's for sure. Devon Young and Heischler following the same philosophy, as well as Nifayan. But it's Jericho Willis and Eager Pro who's actually caught up to Nifayan already with these tyres. That just shows how brutal this tyre wear is. It's absolutely insane. But now with these conditions, Nifo has an opportunity to defend from these guys. A big mistake there for Jericho Willis as Eager Pro is let through. Now on the mighty quick hard tyre. But Nifo, despite having less tyre wear now, it's going to even the playing field out very slightly, and it's going to mean that now it's so difficult to overtake in these slippy conditions. Nifo has an opportunity. It's the defensive line to the inside they go for, and they are going to stay ahead. I thought Jericho Willis might have tried to have a go again, but it's not going to be possible. A big understeering moment and a brilliant move. Champion versus champion. The inside line for Igor, and now that's going to be that one done. And more grip. It does still make a difference in these conditions, and it wasn't quite such an easy defense masterclass that I thought it would be. And Nifo is going to pit now early for the intermediate tyres, but they're going to take that chance. It's Pro who had that brilliant move, but DRS allows Jericho to get back through and not be so rewarded for that overtake. But that's going to be that one done. That's Cooper. Oh, that is Cooper into the wall on the exit. And they were struggling with their tyres earlier on. They're struggling with the intermediates right there. And now that is going to be Nifayan, who benefits quite nicely from that. It's going to be Heischler who still gets to pit. So luckily for Heischler, they're going to have no problems with being stuck behind the safety car and everybody else pitting behind them. We are going to see everybody go on to basically almost equal intermediates. That's going to be frustrating for Nifo because now they can't really get that kind of undercut that they had. They do still get a little bit of an advantage because they were still in the pit lane at the time of the safety car coming out. But Devon Young going to be slightly frustrated with that one because of the time penalty. It's going to bunch up the grid and they don't have such a beneficial strategy. It's Zingy who's going to be happy with this one. We're going to see Pro pretty happy as well, as now they can serve their time penalty and not be screwed over with that 10 seconds as bad as they would have. And actually, because Salkin's 18 seconds behind, they might not actually lose any positions here. That's going to be it. Pit stops. And we're just going to watch Pro serve their penalty as we see Cooper into the pit lane. That's unfortunately their race done. And that's Pro coming out still ahead of Salkin. Oh, no. I did not see that. Devon Young, unfortunately not able to switch correctly. And now from going last to the lead pack is now on the medium tyre. And is going to have to go back into the pit lane and going to drop behind Jericho Willis. If they're lucky, they'll be able to stay ahead of Pro, but I think that might be just about it, if not Salkin. Because everybody's caught up to, well, the leader's caught up to the safety car, that does mean that everybody behind can push as fast as they want to get this race going. So Devon Young has had a really unfortunate moment here, whether that be for a game issue, I don't know, or something different, but no, staying out. Maybe they've seen something that we haven't on the weather radar. They're staying out. They're hoping that it dries up. That's interesting because when we did see, just before the safety car, we did see the inters and the slicks being fairly similar. And as I said, we were expecting to see the track conditions not really cool down that much, even when the rain did come out. And that means that maybe the slick tyre isn't as slow as we thought it was. So Devon Young, don't count them out just yet. I think it's the less ideal strategy, but if it is the strategy, well, this could work well. That being said, medium tyre, they started on the hard, they have to go to the medium. Would they take it to the end? Probably not. They're going to be able to take it to lap 29, maybe 20, maybe 30, but other than that, it's not going to be possible. They would have possibly a second set of mediums, so that could be good, but they might just want to go to another set of hards. The difficulty is hards, wet conditions, they have a much harder time, no pun intended, to warm up for cold conditions. But we're now going to go for the restart. It's Heischler to lead the way on intermediate tyre. It's Devon Young who's trying to warm their tyres up desperately here on the slicks. The safety car comes around the curve and enters the pit lane now. Heischler will go at any point, as we can see right now. Waiting. And they've gone for it. Foot to the floor, and that is a brilliant run there for Heischler. It's Devon Young on a slick tyre. What's going to happen to them? Zingy sits right behind, and it's not that bad for the slick tyre right now. That's actually pretty good going. Brilliant stuff from Devon Young, who's still on the pace right now. And DRS, I didn't quite get to see if it's been disabled or not. It's going to be Nifo, who's right behind, and Zingy's going to try and spot their braking point just up ahead to make sure they're all good to go. They've got a second lease of life in this race for their situation as well. Devon Young now, it's all eyes on them to see what their strategy will be like. But those tyres are just going to get more water on them as we continue to drive. So I don't really expect it to get much easier. Of course, they can now drive quicker and warm their tyres up more, but I don't really expect it to be that much easier. 8 tenths though, absolutely phenomenal. Taking a very wide line there, not ideal, but what they kind of have to do, a mistake there for Heischler, luckily held them back within the second margin, but Zingy is going to be all over them. That was Jericho Willis drifting right up to the white line there in the background. Absolutely awesome stuff right there, pushing to the limit, and it's now 9 tenths. The DRS is still enabled, and it is going to be possibly pro Devon Young. DRS enabled if they're in clean air. What could they do? What could they do in this race? I don't know, but it's going to be a spectacle if they can make it work. There is the DRS, and Zingy might be regretting their decision to be on the intermediate tyres. If Zingy's regretting their decision, everyone is regretting their decision. Time penalty-wise, Devon Young has to try something different, and this, whether forced or not, I don't know, is something different. It's about as different as it can get. We're seeing one car and the entire grid be on the slick tyre. Lap 21 out of 36. Anything can happen. Zingy sits behind and can't get close enough to make a move. No one behind is really close or far away. They're just kind of even. That being said, Devon Young is losing out to DRS now, and Zingy does have a clear shot at the Brit just in front of them. 1.4 seconds, it's changing massively, and the traction isn't easy for anyone, especially for the Red Bull car. DRS available for the Scotsman, and I think that's going to be moved on. Battery will be blasted as Zingy wants to do everything they can to get ahead, and Devon Young can't do much about that. That being said, they broke incredibly late. Once again, we'll say it's so difficult to outbrake someone in the wet conditions and make an overtake. DRS once again, though, with a compromised exit for Devon Young. That's going to be the second opportunity, and a much easier opportunity, if that, on the inside line. And Devon Young does not have an option to make that work, as Zingy got ahead enough and was able to squeeze out legally. Lovely stuff indeed. Zalkin just holding on to DRS at the back, 8 tenths away. The whole grid, except from Heischler, is in the train. Now, it's the Scotsman on the same tyre as the McLaren, who's looking to try and catch back up and drag the field with them. It's Devon Young, whose tyres are getting even more slipperier as they continue. Is that even a word? I don't know. I don't care. They don't care. DRS, is it going to be possible for the Red Bull car? I don't know, but they're trying to open up their steering to allow them to get on the traction as early as possible. It's so tricky right there. And Nifo might have just got a good enough exit regardless of DRS situation. I don't know, but we'll see. DRS is not available for Devon Young. Oh, and that's going to be an absolute swarming for 2 cars in one straight. A sitting duck. And Eager Pro wants to have a go as well. They just back off in the end with the smallest of margins to do so. And they actually compromise their run. They won't be able to make a move on Devon Young after that. And they could end up losing out big time to Jericho and Nifo. Oh, Jericho makes the move. Very aggressive move across. There's contact, and that's going to prevent Nifo from getting good momentum to stay ahead of Devon. But Devon all over the place now, getting another track limit, and that is so tough right there for the Red Bull car. Now we continue to see The race proceeds as Zingy has managed to make progress on Heischler up ahead and got within 1 second. That's a brilliant effort from the Scotsman. DRS is not enabled anymore. It's Jericho Willis P3, not in DRS, but of course with no DRS it doesn't really make a difference. It's Devon Young into the pit lane and trying to call for a plan B here. 24 out of 36 and looking for different tyres. It didn't work out in the end. They tried to hold it and it wasn't a bad effort really. The benefit that they have now is that they can probably make it to the end of the Grand Prix, whereas some other cars, they might not have such an easy chance. That being said, of course, having fresh tyres towards the end of the race, you're going to have a really big benefit. We could see that early on already with the stints, and that was crazy. We've just seen Zingy try and scare Heischler into a little bit of a defensive throw. I don't think he defended, but he did lock up those rears a little bit, and it's Zingy who's really putting that pressure on, and Heischler's now actually slower than Jericho Willis and Nifo, who's managed to find some pace to catch up. Maybe that's because Zingy's trying to fight him. I don't know if they've been side by side or not, but they definitely put the distraction on, of course, so it is going to be a big benefit for Jericho and Nifayan behind. Selkin hasn't been able to follow along, but they've got a race right now with Eager Pro 2.3 seconds away. The poleman is having a hard time behind that Sauber right now. No moves further behind. We're going to see Igor still stuck behind the Sauber. Not stuck behind, but obviously we know from the guy that's been on pole position, they still have pace in this car. They haven't been able to exploit it until maybe now, trying to get on the traction, on the throttle, in the straight line though. We saw Sulkin very quick earlier on. It's not going to be an option for Eager Pro. They're going to have to wait for the Sauber to make a mistake or dive in the corners if they want to get past this Sauber car. We know Eager Pro is strung around the circuit, but there may have to be some other call here to try and get something done. That is a mistake there for Sulkin, but not a big enough mistake to really be a problem. They're maintaining pace with the cars ahead as the train has bunched up. Oh, it's Zingy going for the move into the mid-section of the circuit, and it's so tight. Somehow making it through. Both of them stay in a straight line. Jericho Willis, it is absolutely beautiful for him to see the two cars slowing each other up, as well as Nifo, because they can have an easier time of catching up. DRS not available. It is just straight line speed set up. Performance and ERS. It's an attack here from Jericho Willis, who tries to go for the switch but completely messes it up. Dips a wheel onto the grass, makes contact with the back of the Scotsman as well. They tried to switch it to the inside last second, and that's not going to work. I'm surprised at that because Zingy had the outside line available. Jericho had the outside line available. They would have forced Zingy onto an awkward line and then could have done something about it, but they didn't in the end. And that is a big mistake there for Jericho. And it keeps Nifo in it once again. 1.8 seconds as these guys all bunch up and fight up in front. It means that Selkin and Eager Pro are able to get back in. Eager Pro not actually able to get past them, actually losing time on Selkin. So Selkin's found some good pace here. The 2 seconds advantage Devon Young has found, and just in case we see extra pit stops coming in, that is going to be a hell of a call. If Devon Young is able to win the Grand Prix on this strategy that just doesn't make any sense at all, then that's incredible, and maybe the F1.5 champion is back. Heischler leads the way, 4/10 ahead of Zingy. The margins are small. We've got Jericho Willis putting that pressure on. The two McLarens trying to work together effectively, and they do, even though I don't believe they're communicating live in the race scenario, still do manage to work together well, even if it's just by racing their own races. Heischler staying composed now as Zingy tries to go on an offensive, and unleash their attacks earlier on. Hasn't had any opportunities since we saw them go for the move in this corner. Until now, as Heichler makes a mistake, goes off into the grass. Jericho Willis goes through, and Nifo is in it once again. In the meantime, we've seen Solkin lose the position to Igapro as they go through, but that was a big mistake. Heichler making a moment of madness go completely the wrong way, and that is the grass. They found it and they were dragged all the way to the outside line. Nothing they could do. Is actually the pit lane. It's the pit lane, and Nibbo's into the pit lane as well. Is this going to be Devon Young's opportunity? Oh, I don't know, because Devon Young looks like they've made a mistake. 22 seconds once again. That was to the back of Solkin, we would have seen. So they've had some sort of issue. It's going to be tight. Devon Young is not going to be out of contention here. It's Zingy, Jericho Willis, Igapro and Solkin all staying out. Heichler and Nifo, I didn't expect them to go to the pit lane, but they've opted for it now, and that could be definitely the best call. Zingy has to react surely. Jericho Willis has to react surely. And it's going to be Devon Young who just, that's such a shame. They made great progress, but I think there must have been a mistake in it, because we saw just before Niffer and Heichler made a pit stop, 22 seconds between Solkin, and that was about 19 seconds beforehand. So that is really frustrating. Devon Young showing promise, getting it taken away, showing promise and getting it taken away again. Really frustrating. We've still got laps to go. Zingy now going to make that decision whether they try and stay out and go even longer or go into the pit lane. It makes sense to go into the pit lane, and Jericho Willis follows them in. Igapro, we expect to do the same thing, and Solkin too. Everyone doing exactly the same thing, just trying to avoid those time penalties for speeding. And now we watch the man who's been leading the race for a long part of it, made a mistake, decided to go to the pit lane, and might have just got himself back into P1, and Nifo following with a brilliant call. It's a race to the pit lane exit. Zingy's on the inside line. They minimise track distance, but the warmer tyres and the traction will be there for Heichler. Tucking in right behind. It's not going to work, and that is Heichler into P1 once again. But I will tell you, that is phenomenal from Zingy to still stay right behind the McLaren car after getting undercut. That is a brilliant in-lap there for the Scotsman. Maybe Heichler's had a few issues on the outlap trying to get those tyres warmed up. Really, we should see Zingy struggle with the tyre warm-up, but I think they seem to have some pretty good confidence in this car. From earlier on, they were loving it, it looked like. They said that they weren't, but I think they were loving it. And I think it's going to work out quite nicely for Zingy. They've got a lap advantage, not a massive advantage, but at least something. And they're in a great position to do something about it. It's no DRS, but is it pure confidence for Zingy to dive to the inside line? That's a little bit too far back here in the F1 game. But a brilliant exit could be enough. No battery to deploy. It's Nifo who isn't able to hold on to the back of this pack just so closely, but they still see them right up in front and are ready to pounce if there's a mistake to be made. They undercut Jericho Willis very nicely. Devon Young now sits ahead of Igapro and is not too far away. Time penalty wise, it's going to be tough, of course. And of course, tyre grip wise, they're not going to have the advantage. But again, it's not over until it's over. And what a story it's been so far for Devon Young with this Grand Prix, regardless of where they end up in this race. And now we see Heichler continue, but it's Zingy who puts the pressure on. And trying to save or use some battery. It's not good enough in the end for the Scotsman. and they're having to try and use it on exit pace, which might not be so straightforward. The advantage that Heischler has is that they can back off in the corners, and it's not so simple for Zingy to make a move, but of course there's a risk with that in the end. Got the two battles. One with a McLaren defending, one with a McLaren attacking. And either way, it's not going to be easy. Zingy all over the place trying to get that throttle down, and Niffo catches up brilliantly. Devin Young not too far away, believe it or not. Lap 31 out of 36, and the rain continues to trickle down. It's Egapro making the move on Devin Young. I thought we might have seen Zingy go for it, or Jericho, but no. They all stay well behaved. It's going to be Devin Young who tries to attack once again on the outside line, but no. Egapro, the pole sitter, now to P5, 2.6 seconds away from the cars ahead, has the benefit of tyre life on Devin Young. I would be surprised if Devin can hold on to Egapro. I think if they were on equal tyres, they definitely would, and both of these guys would have been able to stay with the cars ahead, but it's just not quite so simple, is it? Salkin now P7, as they've got a worn tyre runner just up in front of them. They are in a good position here. They need to try and be smart, Devon, because they want to try and maximise their performance. They're just losing the position from Selkin. So if they can work together with Egapro and prevent themselves from losing out that 3-second margin, that could be good. But it'll be a tall order, a very tall order indeed. We're about to reach lap 33 out of 36. It's Heischler who leads the way. It's Zingy in P2. And a brilliant drive so far from many drivers today. Zingy hasn't been able to find a way through, and they're really having to try everything here. Heischler has the advantage. They have made a mistake earlier on in this race. Can they try and stay away from the grass a little bit later on? That's a mistake there for Niffo. I do not believe it. They were right behind. They were right behind in this battle. Jericho Willis for a moment overtakes and then has to back off once again. It's now Egapro who is in this battle, and Devin Young follows. Devin Young, of course, losing pace to the back of Egapro and, of course, to Salkin, but still in the train at least, fairly close, I should say. Jericho Willis not able to get around Niffo Yan. Niffo at that moment earlier on in this race to be back in P3 is a brilliant effort, but still making another mistake here and there. That's Zingy getting a bit twitchy on the front end, which isn't easy. As this tyre continues to wear, they do actually catch up, and it's actually Zingy who is really struggling with that rear end right now. And I'm sorry for that in the background. We'll continue lap 34 to 36. And would you believe it if I told you DRS was not going to be enabled at this point? It's getting wetter and wetter. The conditions are getting worse and worse. It's still inters, but these tyres are going to get more worn. The focus is going to drain. It's going to get tiring, but everybody is reaching the final few laps and getting ready to pull that pin. You can see the cars twitching more than they were before. Everyone wants to try and get a last bit of an advantage on everybody else. Oh, and Zingy goes for the move. Send it on the inside line. Finds himself as close as they've been for a long time and had to make the call. Had to go for the send. Heischler goes defensive. Keeps it for now. Once again to the inside line. Will Zingy get there on the traction race? Around the outside is their call. Through turn 11, 12. That's not going to work out, surely. The inside line once again. But no, they will wait behind and just continuously just piling that pressure onto Heischler. Absolutely incredible stuff. And Heichler just holding on, blasting the battery, but it's not enough here. Once again, Heichler has the advantage in a straight line with no DRS to help. There's nothing they can do. Absolutely incredible. And I do want to say, was that a bit too early for Zingy? Was that too early? Was that a little bit too much? Because I don't think they're going to get another opportunity. I think they should have attacked on lap 33. That being said, they know that you don't really get that many opportunities in the wet conditions, so when you're a tenth behind the car ahead, you have to go for something. So I completely understand why they did what they did. It's Jericho Willis who had a look to the inside, and they've actually ended up losing their time, but it's a reaction there for Nifo, who makes a mistake. It's Jericho Willis who's going to touch the racing ball just up ahead and push them a little bit and actually lose out in the end. So just missing out. But it's now Egebro who is on the attack and ready to gain anything they can. Heichler is going to round the final few corners to start the final sector of the penultimate lap. DRS, nowhere to be seen. ERS, they're going to try and use everything they've got left in that car. Zingy is going to be absolutely brutal and try and pull everything they can, but it's not going to be straightforward at all. It's going to be Nifo who goes defensive to the inside line on Jericho Willis. Jericho Willis trying to get the switcheroo. Can they get the exit over the Dutchman into turn 4? That's what they're going to have to look at, but no, they make a mistake, and it's actually going to be Egebro who looks for the move. Using the battery, backing off immediately as they realise it's not possible. Going defensive is Jericho Willis, then back to the racing line at the last second. A mistake there for Jericho over track limits. Is Devon Young getting another time penalty in the end? Unfortunately, it's not going to matter. They would have had it over Selkin, but it doesn't make a difference. Here comes the Scotsman. Oh, it's a defensive throw from Heichler, who's doing an amazing job. Oh, it's Jericho Willis with a time penalty. Somehow Zingy has found a brilliant move, and they're trying to continuously put this pressure on. It's not so straightforward though. I don't know how they got their nose in there, but they did so. There's one final major corner. Oh, and Heichler defends perfectly, and Zingy makes a mistake, misjudges it, gets damage. I don't know what's going to happen here. Up to the line, it's going to be Jericho Willis suffering big time as Nifo makes the progress. It's Heichler who wins the Brazilian Grand Prix. Absolutely incredible stuff from everyone there. It's Zingy in P2 in the end, and Nifoyan in P3. That is what you call a roller coaster. Incredible stuff right there. Heichler wins from, I think, P5 on the grid in the end. Absolutely incredible stuff. Fastest lap to add to it as well. It's Heichler taking the victory with the fastest lap. It's Zingy in P2. It's Nifoyan, Egebro, Selkin, Jericho Willis and Devon Young. DNFing earlier on was Alex Cooper, Sol Borden and Tom Buckley. In the end, we get the results and we get the race director, as we will quickly scroll through it as we need to. And then the pit stop section as well. Absolutely incredible what we've just seen. Heichler with a brilliant defense, a brilliant drive. Zingy with a brilliant recovery and then an attack. Nifo as well with a brilliant recovery. Egebro somehow managing to make it back with the time penalty, of course, that they had. Jericho Willis really frustrating at the very end. Devon Young, a brilliant roller coaster of a drive up and down, and Selkin managing to get there, staying consistent, staying cool, and P5 for them. We'll be back for the post-race interviews. We will see you in a bit. Hello everyone and welcome to the post-race interviews of the Brazilian Grand Prix. That was an absolute roller coaster of a race. I don't know what to say, to be honest. Just awesome stuff. We start with you, Nifo. Nifo, the result in the end was pretty good, of course. I know that you were struggling to begin with for this circuit. Can you take us through it? And that strategy is absolutely wild with the wet conditions coming in at the end.
Yeah, it was a bit crazy. I mean, I think qualifying went a lot better than I thought. I think the time itself was not good, but it was good enough for P2. And then last few weeks, I think my strongest point is the start has become my weakest point because I dropped again 2 positions, which is just lovely. And yeah, then I just spun on my own, which is also a recurring theme recently, which is just incredibly lovely. And then luckily we got a safety car in the end, which was a bit lucky, put me back in full contention. And then it was a bit lucky, bit unlucky, because I did overtake both Igor and Jericho overtook me just before, but it did mean my tires had like 7% wear. It was they had like none because I had to push under the safety car, which compromised the first stint a little bit. And yeah, then the second stint it went a bit better. I got into my rhythm a bit, but then Jericho, I had way too much wing for the conditions. There was way too much grip. I thought it was gonna be like fully Indus. It was basically just like it basically felt like he had like dead hards, at least in my opinion. So I couldn't really gain anything with the high wings. So everybody on the straight just drove 5/10 away from me, which was just lovely. Jericho got impatient, hits me the moment I got close to Gijs and Zingy, and then I just couldn't catch him again. I don't think I could have overtaken him, but at least there was an opportunity if one of them made a mistake, so it's a bit annoying, but I think the result is a lot better than what I deserved, pace-wise, consistency-wise, and how I've been driving these weeks overall, so I'll take it.
Look, you made a mistake earlier on and you managed to recover, so I think that's pretty good going and you do deserve it. So well done indeed for that lovely podium to end it off. And thank you very much. Really good effort and I can't wait to see you soon.
Thank you.
And we move on to Devon. Devon, of course, a difficult way to start is not being able to do qualifying, but you managed to make amazing progress in the early stages, and then amazing progress. You were racing in the lead for a while, and then I don't know what happened. I'd ask you to take us through the strategy, but that is one of the most insane strategies that I've ever seen. It almost worked a couple of times, but then you got messed around a little bit sometimes. But yeah, I don't know what to say. Just absolutely incredible race, regardless of your result. Can you take us through everything?
Yeah, like you said, the main sort of key theme being quite a weird strategy. I think I was kind of confused as anyone watching or anyone else really, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I was kind of winging most of it. Like I say, it almost paid off in the end, which is all right. But yeah, I think to start with, I didn't do any practice for this race. I've had like a really bad headache all day, so I wasn't even sure I was going to race. But like you sent me the invite, and I was like, yeah, okay, we'll just do it. Obviously, yeah, starting from the back, which not ideal, but it's definitely makes for maybe a bit more of a fun race. Overtaking is probably the most fun part of racing. So. Yeah, but like you said, made some decent progress to start with, which I didn't really expect. I didn't expect to be with the top. I don't know, what was it, top 4, top 5, but we were there. And then obviously I sort of hung on in the early stages with the hards, and then they were becoming better and better. Ended up getting past the 2 on the mediums, and I was just behind Heischler. And then to skip forward a bit, the rain came, and I sort of it was so light, and it had been raining for a good couple of laps, and obviously you get barely any information out of your engineer, so I was asking as much as possible, and I wasn't really getting much. So to be honest, I just sort of thought, I reckon it's going to be decent enough conditions for these for dry tires for maybe 5 laps, and I thought maybe I could pull a gap. I don't know. I don't really know what I thought. I just did that, and obviously it probably wasn't perfect, but like you say, that in the end it almost worked with everyone else pitting twice. But to be honest, I was just kind of trying to create an exciting race for me, which in the end of the day it was. So yeah, I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've probably created some of the most exciting racing on the circuit, even though you weren't actually racing side by side with a few cars for a lot of it. The strategy was just really good to watch and see what would happen. But thank you
Yeah,
for the
good fun.
entertainment. Thank you very much for the effort, of course, to racing despite feeling ill. So I hope you get better soon, and I really do appreciate it. So really good effort today. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you.
And we move on to Heischler. Heischler, congratulations. That is another victory. Well done today. Absolutely insane stuff. Having issues, of course, in qualifying, that's never good for momentum, but then you managed to not let it affect you too badly, and it paid off.
This is probably the most fought win I've ever had. I'm actually really knackered. I had no pace in the wet, probably due to setup because I just couldn't turn the car. The car just didn't want to turn at all. Even whatever I did with my steering wheels, I cranked on the steering lock, but it still didn't turn. So that wasn't ideal. That was why I struggled so much. So it was just completely defending in the wet. But yeah, the dry pace was, for so far I saw the best on the grid, even though I didn't do practice. So that was nice. That was good to see that I actually have pace without practice as well. Yeah, we don't talk about the quality. That was just annoying. But yeah, if it stayed dry the whole race, I would have probably created a gap between me and Devon as well, and would have been a really easy win for me. The safety car wouldn't have mattered, I think, in the end, because Singy had just way more pace in the wet. So it actually made it a little bit harder for me, but I've defended like I never have defended. And luckily on this game in the wet you can defend all you want. You can defend really well from the guy behind, and it's really hard to overtake. So luckily I could stay in the lead, have enough straight line speed, have enough ERS for the straights, and yeah, lovely win to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if it was just dry, then it would have been nice to win. But fighting hard for it and then still getting the result you want, I'm sure that's feels pretty good. Really well done. Thank you very much. That's the summer season done for you. Signing off with a team's championship and a race victory. Well done today. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And we move on to Sulkin. Sulkin, it was looking pretty difficult towards the end of that race, but you managed to stay cool when it just all kind of happened in the final couple of laps. You're also battling for a long part at the beginning. Can you take us through it?
Yeah, the start of the race was pretty good for me. I thought I had pace at the start. I could fight for like top four, but then I got me and Singy got battling, and we dropped out of the DRS range to the top guys. And then it just went south from there. On the second stint for me started, I pitted from mediums to hards, and 2 laps later the rain started, so that was a difficult stint for me. I had to then the safety car came out, and I had to pit for inters. I just managed to do it in 1 second before I saw everybody else was doing it. So pretty lucky with the inters change. And yeah, the last lap for me was difficult, but I pushed very hard to stay with the guys because I saw they had the penalties. I was 4 seconds behind at the start of last lap, and was 2.4 seconds after a crash between I think it was Devon and Jericho. So very happy with the result, but looks like I gotta step up the pace if I should, or if I'd want to join the F1 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, you learnt a lot for sure, and you had some good battling. So I hope you enjoyed that one. It's difficult; they're not easy to race against, but I think you've got it in you. So keep pushing, and you'll get there. Really well done today. Thank you very much. Well done on the good points as well to finish off the season.
Yep, thanks. But
And we move on to Zingy. Zingy, well, up and down for you as well. It looked like a Vettel situation in the opening lap. and then you managed to recover all the way back to P2. Can you take us through it? Were you happy to see the rain or not?
Yeah, well, it was a interesting race. I lost the back end turn one. I thought I had a bit more grip than I did. I didn't do as much practice on the hards, so I just wasn't really aware. Yeah, unfortunately that happened, and I managed to make my way back up. I mean, along with Haj, I was probably up there with the quickest cars. I mean, I'm making my way through the field, and then in the rain, me and Haj, when we didn't battle, we were quick. But yeah, it was a good race.
Yeah, not too much more to say. I mean, yeah, it was a brilliant job from you, I have to say. I know the straight line speed wasn't quite there, but yeah, I don't know. Towards the end, I don't know how you managed to find your way to get your nose on the inside in the middle sector. That was pretty cool. I have to say, a very good attack. So you should be proud of that one. You gave a lot of entertainment and you gave it a very good shot. So well done today, and I can't wait to see you continue on wheel. Thank you. And we move on to the end of the stream. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. And we'll see you tomorrow for the Brazilian Grand Prix. That's been it for the summer season for the Friday tier. And we'll see you in probably September for the full season. I can't wait. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Did I do something wrong?
You did good for wheel, I guess.
He did really